Welcome to another episode of the Atomic Lizards podcast. Today we'll be doing a bonus episode on John Wick 4. Today I bring three special guests: Dan, the kaiju extraordinaire, as always, and two guest stars, Mike and Luke. Welcome, Mike and Luke.
Hello. It's a pleasure.
How's it going?
It's going, It's a Wednesday. Wow, sorry. I immediately went to my corporate jargon. I'm still adjusting to being a cubicle man, and I'm like, oh, it's a hump day again. Hate that, but it's how I operate now. I'm excited to talk about John Wick, though.
I'm excited to have you guys here.
As am I.
So for starters, what are some early impressions of the movie that you guys have?
I just love the movies, man.
Yeah, no, the John Wick movies are great. Great time, great action. I mean, that's the reason why you watch them, really, is for the action.
How would you rank the series?
For a while, number 3 was like my favorite. And it's interesting because recently when this new one came out on like, film Twitter and stuff, I saw a lot of people being like, 3 is obviously the worst. And I was like doing some like self-reflecting. I'm like, I don't know. I really love the third. I did see it. I got like, I think 2 different advanced screenings for that one before it came out. I like saw it twice before it came out and like 3 more times when it did come out. So I have like just a soft spot for that one. But after watching John Wick 4 twice, I do think that 4 is my favorite, at least at this point. Obviously, that's subject to change, as all things are, and recency bias is a very real thing. But this one was very next level on a lot of different aspects to the film. But I think right now, probably like 4, 3, 1, 2 for me.
Respect it. I like the little backstory there too.
I'll just say that I'm very late to the John Wick train. About a week before the movie came out, I hadn't seen any of them, and I was like, I gotta change that like right now because I've owned them since 2019. Like I got a 3-pack, so I was like, I gotta watch these. So having watched all of them like in a pretty close period of time, I think I gotta give the bias to John Wick 4 because that's the only one I got to see in a theater, which was incredible to watch on a movie screen. But I will respect the first one a lot just for how compact that story is, how tight it is. So in my world, I think I go 4, 1, 3, 2. Not to say that the 3 and 2 are bad. I love the world building in those movies. But yeah, 4 is just on another level. The story, I think, is probably the best since 1, and the action is the best out of all of them. And I just want to note before we go on, I was really excited to do this podcast. So like when I saw it again last night, I went out and bought a little notepad so I could take notes in the theater to like talk about the movie. And it's really hard to write in the dark. I I didn't know, like, so I'll try my best to go off my notes, but like it's chicken scratch. I'm gonna try my best here, but yeah.
Unless you're sitting like on an end seat and have a little bit of the stair light, it's still even tough if you're doing that.
Yeah, it was like I had to use my finger to like decide where I was on the note. Because like once I put like my hand up to write, it cast a shadow on the notepad. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use my thumb as a guide.
When you first said that you took notes, that was my first thought. I was like, wow, how did they see in the movie theater?
Badly.
That's fair.
I just want to say that I can definitely relate to that notebook in the movie theater moment because back in high school when I thought CinemaSins was cool, me and a friend decided that we wanted to do, because this was back when they had the hotline to like submit your own sins, so we wanted to do our own sins for the newest Transformers movie. So I took a notebook with me to write in the theater, and I was like, oh, this isn't working out like how I thought it would.
Also, I feel like your hands would get tired if you're for the Transformers movie. Ooh.
Yeah, really. Oh, it was the fourth one with Mark Wahlberg, I think, considered to be the worst one,
Well, I think it
if
was
I
the worst
remember
until
correctly.
the fifth one came
The
out.
fifth is definitely the worst, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. But this is a John Wick discussion, not a Transformers discussion.
Yeah,
So
frick
answer.
Transformers.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the Transformers episode.
Oh boy.
I won't be there for that one.
Well, I mean, Beast Wars does look cool, but once again, not to go too much off topic, but to I find it kind of hard to answer your question, Udi, because I did not rewatch all three John Wick films before going to see the fourth one. I wanted to, but I just never got around to doing it. And I haven't seen all three John Wick films since the one time me and you had like that kind of John Wick marathon before I think it was before the third film came out actually. So it has been a really long time since I've seen the three John Wick films. So like I don't really remember a lot to be able to say which ones I liked more than the others. Like I really like the first film, and then obviously I'm gonna be like Mike and Luke, and I'm gonna have some recency bias towards the fourth film because I just saw it and it was freaking awesome, So like, but I do really like the first film, so take this right here with a grain of salt to all the listeners because it's been so long since I've watched him. But I would definitely say like the fourth film, the first film, and then like maybe the second film and the third film. But once again, I just really don't remember them all that well to be able to make a fair comparison and to rank them fairly. I need to rewatch them.
That's fair. That's fair. I just a quick recap, I guess, for me. So I watched them like as they came out. So I didn't see the only one I've seen in theaters was 4, which sucks because I really wanted to go see 3 in theaters. But I did the one thing that you shouldn't do. Never quit your job before you get another job, kids. So I couldn't afford to go see John Wick 4 or 3, I mean, unfortunately. But so yeah, I got to go see John Wick 4. I got to see it with Mike. But yeah, anywho, I guess. So recency bias be damned. I really don't think it's going to change. I would rank 4, 1, 2, 3 for me.
Yeah, I do want to just quick caveat before we even move on is like the fact that 2 is at the bottom doesn't like this ranking. All of them are so close. Like it's not even. It might not even be in terms of quality. It's also like enjoyment. I know the third one, at least for me, like I said, I have a soft spot for it, and I just have so much fun watching it. So it's like it might not be the best because they're all like on pretty much the same level, obviously, except for 4. We've established this. This is a game changer, like the definition of game changer. But yeah, besides that, like 2 being at the bottom of my list does not mean I don't like it. It actually is one of my favorite kills in the entire franchise. So
I do want to add for John Wick 3 before uh 4 came out. The beginning of John Wick 3 is probably my favorite John Wick movie. Just like the first like 30 to 45 minutes where you got your like the best part of any John Wick movie is when they announce John Wick is back in town and you can get a lot of money if you kill him. And that's just the opening of 3 and just like that was probably the best action up to that point. So yeah, that I just wanted to put that out there.
All I'll say for me for 3 is like I was so excited for that one, and I watched the trailer for that movie so many times. I don't remember if they all used the same songs or whatever, but specifically the one that used the Frank Sinatra song. I watched that trailer so many times for John Wick 3. And then when I finally watched it, I don't know. It was disappointing. I didn't like the main um like assassin antagonist. The other antagonist, they were okay. I don't know, like they were okay.
you didn't like the bald guy, the Iron Chef?
No, not really.
He was so funny.
He seemed kind of lame. Like the one scene I liked, and it's just because it was so like funny. I guess was when I think they're in the Continental, or there's somewhere where they can't fight anymore. So then they're just sitting on the couch like next to each other, and then he's like trying to make talk, or he's trying to like make like small talk, and he's like, "Oh, I'm such a huge fan." He's like fanboying out. He's like, "This is like such like an honor for me."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is kind of funny, but
I want to make sure I got his name. It's Mark Dacascos, and he was like one of the judges on Iron Chef for a while. So like when
oh really?
when he popped up in this, I saw it with my buddy Caleb, who's like a huge Iron Chef fan. Like I've watched it with him, but like he's like big into it, and so Mark Dacascos popped up, and he's like, "What?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I thought he was great. I really like him, but yeah, I get it. I just want to make sure, give that guy credit.
Yeah.
He's very funny. He's a good actor."
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like, especially because before we knew we were getting four, like I thought
Mm.
that was going to be the ending, and so I was like, it's pretty lame antagonist as like your final movie, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. And then the ending, spoiler alert, but I hated the ending so much. Like John gets shot off a building and then he survives, even though like he basically like fell several stories. I'm like, what?
Because he is the Baba Yaga.
The
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
The Baba Yaga.
I love how Killa says in this one, he's like the Bubble Yege.
So good.
Like it's not just like he just replaced several letters. Scott Adkins is
I
great.
was gonna
Love
say
that guy.
you brought up the ending. That's the one thing I do remember from John Wick 3. I just remember Lawrence Fishburne going, "Tell me, John Wick, are you pissed?" And then credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, since I do feel like I don't know if we talk about spoilers in 4 right away. We'll probably get into that. But since we've already talked about the spoilers for 3, when I said in 2 it had my favorite kill, it's that last one when he kills Santino D'Antonio, like in the
Mm.
Continental. That blew my balls off. Sorry, I don't know that. Like I was like, that is the most insane thing I've ever seen, and I love everything about the way that chapter 2 ends, and yeah, I just gotta highlight that.
It's a great
dude.
ending.
It's so good.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
So
All right,
chapter
so
4, right?
I feel like we've been talking. I was like, I feel like we've been talking for like 30 minutes, and we're like, so
Yeah.
anyways, about this movie, we could talk about, directed by Chad Stahelski, the GOAT, the real Chad. It's just the
He could
Chaddest of
really be
Chads.
named
We love
Chad,
him.
don't he?
Yeah. Written by Shay Haddon and Michael Finch. Love those guys. I'm just saying that. I don't know. I just have the credits lined up. I like giving people credit. Dan Lostson was the cinematographer and
Great job.
incredible. I mean, this movie is so pretty. All of the John Wick movies are incredibly well shot, not only in terms of like, the action sequences, but I feel like even the slower scenes, or like the scenes where we're just kind of hanging out. Especially in this one when we're in Osaka, like all the neon, all the scenery, everything is just incredible and beautiful, and I think he does a great job. And then the score was composed by Tyler Bates, and I do just want to give a quick shout out. First of all, score is great, I love it, but also Tyler Bates, silly goofy guy. The first track on the soundtrack is titled Big Wick Energy.
Saw that
Nice.
yesterday.
Nice.
He's got another one that's Sandwick.
Nice.
Obviously when they're it's one of them's just called Kill His Teeth. We love that. But yeah, I really liked the music in this one as well. Again, I feel like everything about this one just kind of stepped up from the last. And it's, again, obviously, like I said, 3 has been my favorite, so it's pretty hard to do that in my opinion, but I think literally every single thing got better, including Ian McShane's teeth. I had to bring that up.
Yes.
Teeth were glistening in the movie.
So shiny.
They're a character in their own right.
Seriously.
While we're talking about Ian McShane, I have 2 notes on Ian McShane. Let me pull them up real quick. there's the scene where they're doing the duel, like they're planning the duel and like flipping the cards, and when Clancy Brown like announces the what will happen when if John Wick wins, and he says, and Winston will be reinstated as the manager of the Continental, and like John just gives him a look, and Winston goes. I just thought that was really funny. And then another Winston scene that killed
So
me
good.
was when they're in the motorboat with the Bowery King, and he just says, "When I warned you not to dip your pinky back in the pond, I didn't think that my finger would get wet."
I love that line.
I
So
just love
good.
him. I think he has some great like lines like throughout the whole movie, especially like when he's the second to John Wick in the duel. He has some good lines. He's just a great character in this one. I think he was a big step up from where we left him in
Yeah.
the last one. I thought I was ready to hate him in this one, but I think Winston's character was a great time throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely the inciting incident with him and Sharon, that like you immediately are like, oh man, I
Yeah.
think I like him again because I feel sad. And then just since we're talking about little things that we like, there's the bit where he's walking up to the what is the marquee? He's walking up to the marquee in the museum, and it's just
Yeah,
like
he's
a
just walking.
long
Yeah.
shot of him like walking like through the museum, and it just goes on for like a little longer than you expect. And I'm like, that's a good
I like
bit.
that.
I love stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then after he, explains to the marquis like, what's gonna happen and everything, and he sets down the paper, like the contract. He just like the way that he sets it on the couch and he just kind of like gestures
Yeah.
like, oh, there it is. and then he walks away.
Yeah.
So
Well,
good.
speaking of little things that we like, one of my I so I don't think that his French accent was that great, to be honest. Like it was okay, but I love Bill Skarsgård. I
Bill
love
Yeah.
Skarsgård,
that
yeah.
man. But my favorite line delivery of his
Ruse.
was when he's talking to Mr. Nobody for the first time, and he goes, "Thank you." It's my favorite. Like he's
Ooh,
just
I will
so
not call
good.
him Mr. Nobody. Sorry.
It's okay.
To me, he's the
He's the
tracker.
tracker. Mr. Nobody is Bob
No,
Odenkirk.
Mr. Nobody is no,
Jared Leto.
True.
no. Who is
That's
it?
true.
Kurt Russell in The Fast and the
Fast and
Furious,
Furious.
actually.
Oh no.
Oh my god, there's so many
Yeah.
nobodies.
It's
I mean,
So
almost like
many
there's
nobodies.
somebodies, you know?
Some of them are
I,
somebodies.
I
I
did
was gonna
like the
say,
line
Yeah.
that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
well, no, I was just gonna say real quick, because while talking about Mr. Nobody, this is kind of an obscure reference, but I thought of I'm pretty sure there's a DC Comics villain called Mr. Nobody, and that was in the Doom Patrol show. So that's what I
Mm.
thought of.
Yes, he's like the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's
The
the villain.
dude.
Played by Alan Tudyk. Incredible, by the way.
Hey! Alan Tudyk just got rehired by DC as well.
I saw that, yeah.
It's separate news, but
Exactly, yeah. Also, again, so many tangents, but like watch Doom Patrol if you haven't. It's a
Seriously,
great
just
show.
when you think that
Anyways,
show can't get any weirder, it gets weirder.
in the best
I do
way.
like weird stuff. But
Speaking of weird, Bill Skarsgård's accent and just like I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was like fun, and also he is the best dressed, I think, person in the John Wick
Agreed.
universe. Like every time
Yeah.
he showed up, I was like, "Oh, he is fresh."
he looks like $1
Um,
million.
and I do literally, and I did as much as it was kind of like not the best French accent. I did love every time he said like "a wounds." I was like, all right. Just made me think of Blazing Saddles is all. So I was
I
like,
love
that's good.
Blazing Saddles. Where are all the white women at?
I want to hit you guys with a hot take, apparently. I
What's
did
that?
not like Bill
Hit me.
Skarsgård in this movie.
Oh, how
Why
dare
not?
At
you.
all?
Okay. I think he served his purpose well. The acting was fine. Like the accent obviously wasn't great, but the acting itself was fine. I just like looked at him and like to me, like you'll probably agree with me, but like he's a prick. Like that's what he is in the movie.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's the point, but
Yeah.
like I recently started watching Succession, and there are a few pricks in that show that, like, yeah, they're
A
pricks.
few?
Yeah. The main one I want to point out is Roman Roy. He's a huge prick,
Yeah, my favorite
but
prick.
like you still like and care about the character. I didn't feel the same way about the Marquis in this movie. Just like he was a prick. Yeah, he was a prick, and I didn't like him at all. So like when he died,
Yeah,
I
there's a
didn't.
lack of
I was
empathy
like,
there.
aha, yeah, but like not
I
in like
mean,
a way that like he's not like a he's not a love to hate him. He's just like I hate him
I feel like that's
in my
how
mind.
I
they
can
make
understand that.
the villains. So like the villain in the second one, I feel like the whole time you just want him to die, and so when he finally dies, you're like, ah, thank you. So,
Yeah, I guess I don't know. That was just kind of how I felt throughout the whole thing.
I I do I do see what you're saying, Mike, because I feel like there is a little less maybe depth to his villainy. It seems like he is just like, I just want to be the guy who
Yeah,
wiped out John Wick. It's like, all right, man. So does every other tiny henchman that thinks he has a shot. Like that doesn't make you special. Whereas with Santino D'Antonio, you have like more to it. Like sucks, but um, there's more of an understanding to it. Whereas I guess with this one, you're like, all right, cool. So I do see what you're
like when
saying.
I look at his character, I can't look at him and think, oh yeah, this is the guy like before like this is the guy that's right under the
Mm.
table. Like I can't look at him and see that. And in a movie that is most likely the final John Wick movie, it's kind of weird that he's like what ended up being the final like step between John Wick's like freedom and like yeah. So
I was gonna say while we're talking about like characters that we liked, so one of the most memorable characters in my opinion, and the one that I really liked was that really big fat German guy that John Wick kills. I forget his name, and I don't remember the
the
name of the actor,
Penguin.
unfortunately. The Penguin, yeah,
Oh, Killa, played by
yeah.
Scott
I
Adkins.
I liked that guy with the gold teeth. He was fun.
he was so good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The whole
yeah,
card
He's
scene is just
incredible.
so like tense
yeah.
and like I
Yeah,
love that so much.
great scene.
I thought it was really funny during that scene. Like they're in a dance club and they're literally like shooting and like fighting each other, but everybody in the dance club is still dancing. Like
They're
nobody
still
cares.
going.
Like,
It made me think of the bit from John Wick 2 with him and Common
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
with
when
their
they're
silencers, and they're
shooting
just like
up on
walking through
balconies,
like,
right?
and it's so funny. Yeah, and honestly, like I love that stuff, and I understand. I know we kind of talked about it in the third one when he falls off the building, and we're like, all right, how does he survive? There is a level of disconnect here that I think is. I just think these are meant to be more fun, and there are some people who. I'm not saying this is you guys. There are some people on the internet who take these way too seriously, and they're like, "That's ridiculous," and it's like, yeah, that's the point. Is like it is grounded, but it's still a little far fetched as to where it's like because they see the humor in it, and something like that where it's just like this huge loud nightclub, and some of these people are probably not all there, under some influence or many influences. Like you're gonna see some people pushing and stuff, and be like, oh, whatever. But it's like, oh no, that guy just got axed in the neck. But they're like, oh, he's probably just taking a nap, a little breather, you know. Like it's ridiculous and outlandish a bit, but it's also believable in a sense, and it's just fun,
I
and
love
it's a
that
great
club
setting
scene.
too.
The little
yeah.
I do.
No, it was
waterfalls,
great.
great touch.
Yeah.
So cool.
I
But no,
do
you're
feel.
right. Oh, go ahead, Udi.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I do feel like the first two, like they were always like they presented themselves as like grounded more than realistic. They weren't really realistic as much as just kind of grounded action movies. It was like the first action movies that I remember, at least two, that the detail that I liked the most is like they had realistic like mag counts. It's like they were reloading constantly. It's like, yes, finally an
Mhm.
action movie where they don't have infinite clips. I love that. But I do feel like as they went on, they got progressively sillier, which is fine. Like they definitely lean into it. I also feel like they realize like if we keep these two grounded, like it'll limit what we can do, and we know we can do more to keep things more entertaining. And if we limit ourselves, then we won't
Mhm.
get to that point. So I don't know. like the ending of the third one bothered me so much because like nothing to that extent happened in that whole movie. I think at least where it's like just immediate plummets. Like whoa, whoa, whoa! Like what are you doing here? You're taking a big step here in like believability or not believability, whatever. But in the fourth one, I think once everyone is just wearing bulletproof suits and people are just getting stabbed left and right in like the most
Right.
ridiculous things, it's just like, and after you saw the ending of the third one, it's just like, I mean, it is what it is. Like
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up because when we're talking about like a little bit of like disconnect or things not being that realistic, they're literally like using their suits to like block their faces so they don't get shot. It's
That's
like, come on.
so cool. Like when they lift up
Yeah.
their arms,
I
like
love how
Yeah.
they're all doing their the Dracula
Yeah, so-
cosplay. I mean I'm pretty sure the suit came into play in John Wick 3, and then it seems like in this one, if you're high enough up, like in in the table and everything, you have access to that, or if you're the Bowery King,
you mean like if you're the
he's just
coolest
he could
dude
do
in the
whatever.
world, and if you didn't get
Yeah,
enough screen time
literally,
in
if you're
John Wick
Lawrence
4,
Fishburne. Yeah, yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's not necessarily everybody with the bulletproof suits, but it is a lot of the Marquis men. I know his main right hand man, Cheedy, used it
big
quite a
dude.
bit. But I'm like, it makes sense for him to have it. But I guess maybe some of the other nameless fellas probably didn't need the bulletproof suits. I feel like I kind of agree with you that maybe if it was just Cheedy, then I'd be like, yeah, sure, John Wick and Cheedy both can do a little Dracula action and block some bullets. Um, I did like in the end when John takes off his jacket and you can
Yeah,
hear all the bullet casings fall, and then he takes off his vest and you can hear more fall. You're like,
nice little
oh,
touch.
so good.
That was great. Since we were talking about unrealistic things and we were talking about Killa, one of the notes that I wrote down was bigger dudes had more HP, and that's one of my favorite things in these movies. So like in
Yeah, that
Osaka, there's a
bosses.
lot of this. There's the two like bigger dudes that he says don't let anybody in. Like they get beat up and they're just
Mhm.
fine. And then there's the dude that Akira is just stabbing as he's like crawling up the stairs. Like I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know. I think like he
Yeah,
took so many hits, and then just Killa in general. Like he took so many hits before like falling off of the stairs. Like I think it's a great
I
touch that
do
there's just like
love.
video game logic. It's like, oh yeah, he's a buster. He has more HP.
Yeah, I also love how his death was very,
His face.
Oh
not
yeah.
glamorous. It was just like, boom, he
yeah.
just fell off the stairs. Like he went through all of that, and then it was just like,
And then his
Yeah.
oops,
head got
slipped and fell,
indented.
dead.
Oh god.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize the one guy's name was Cheedy. So when you said Cheedy, I was like, wait, William Jackson Harper's in this? I was like, oh no, his name is Cheedy. Never mind, never mind.
I
Because I was
wish
thinking Good
William
Place.
Jackson
Yeah,
Harper was in
Marco
Uh,
this.
Zaror.
I wish he was. I wish he was. I
He's
want
too
him to
busy
be in more stuff.
filming Ant-Man.
Let's not talk about it.
oh my
Don't
Um,
get
god.
me
and
started.
then the other thing was, I wonder if all the John Wick people go to the same suit tailor that the Kingpin from Daredevil goes. Because for anyone that's watched that show, the Kingpin also has a bulletproof and
Yeah,
like stab-proof suit. So
Yeah.
Killa was
but,
the kingpin. He was the kingpin of Germany. It's
mm,
Yeah.
canon.
Seriously.
true.
But while we're talking about unrealistic things, as cool as this character was, I had a hard time believing that Kane was blind.
So I'm gonna fight you
I
on that a little bit, but go ahead and make your case.
same.
Well, I mean, because the man's just doing like all these crazy like moves and whatnot. It's like he's blind. Like, I mean, unless he's like Daredevil or something. Like, how does he know like where everything is? Like, I can understand if
So
he's
that
hearing and he hears people's voices and he can shoot in their direction and whatnot.
mm.
But all these like crazy flips and like action moves that he's doing, like what?
So I think part of it for me is I feel like he is sort of freshly blind. it seems like when he's talking to the tracker, he says like the tracker's like, I can't believe they took your eyes, and he's like, well, I gave them. And I think there are a couple little bits like when he's grabbing the card that has John Wick's name when he's with the
So
marquee,
cool.
he like bumps his hand on the tray. So I think yeah, I love it. I think there's aspects of that to it where it's like it's fresh, so like I think a lot of maybe his skill sets he had beforehand, and like he knows how to fight, and he's still sort of adjusting to that. I also know that Chad Stahelski is just a huge like movie buff, like big cinema guy. I love that about him. um and he said that he drew inspiration from Zatoichi, which is they're Japanese films from like the 50s, but there's like 25 of them, and it's Zatoichi's The Blind Swordsman, and that was like a really popular sort of samurai series back then, and that's kind of where he drew inspiration from it. But also, I mean, if you think that this is crazy, I mean, Donnie Yen was blind in Rogue One, and that worked
Yeah, but
too,
he has the Force though, which is this
Um,
mystical like power or whatever. Or did he have the
So
Force? I don't remember.
does he?
Maybe he doesn't.
Does he? I don't
that's
think.
He
that's
was
what I
like a
kind
still,
of wanted to
follower of the
go
Force.
into.
yeah,
Like he believed in it.
Yeah,
but
he
still,
didn't
it's like
have the
Star
force. He
Wars.
was
That's like,
just
well,
his
then again,
force
I guess,
sensitive without like using the force.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like what I kind of wanted to go into is like after watching Daredevil and watching Donnie Yen in Rogue One, like obviously both like Donnie Yen in that movie and Charlie Cox like in Daredevil, they're both like great like action, like they're both great with their action in those movies, but like it's really like easy to like forget that they're blind because they're just kind of like acting like dudes who are good at martial arts. Like there's no like real like scene in Rogue One where like he uses like his blindness besides like the one scene of humor where they put the bag over his head and he's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind." But like in this movie there are so many like more nods to like how a person who's blind would fight in this world with that high skill set. Like the little
Yeah.
like doorbell things that he put on the wall, I thought were super
I
cool.
Yeah.
The
love
way
that
he
part.
uses
Yeah.
his stick like throughout the fight. Also, real quick, his name being Kane is like more lazy than Stick being named Stick in Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Like that's just
Yeah.
like, are you kidding? Come on. But yeah, I thought like they had a lot more like reference to the fact that he is blind in the movie than I've seen in any other like portrayal of blindness in an action movie. So I thought that was really interesting.
And I think it's a little more believable as well because I noticed it the second time around. When they're on the stairs in that final scene, there's so many bits where like, he's like, John is like, "Hey, do you want 12 or 9?" And he's like, 9. And then he starts shooting guys,
Yeah.
they're 9 o'clock. And
Mhm.
there are a lot of times he misses. Like he's not perfect. When he fights, he's not perfect, and when he shoots, he's not perfect. Like he misses quite often because he's blind. So I think that also helps for me at least, where I'm like, yeah, he can't see. I I do I am curious. I think it's very funny that he knew what cards he had. That was a
That was
good
a great
bit.
bit.
I also love when I love when he held up the cards the first time. He's like, "What do we got here?" And then he was like, waited. He's like,
Yeah, that was
ah.
good.
But then he did know the cards, and I was like, okay, maybe he just got
I'm
lucky
wondering if
there.
he like
Uh,
just
yeah,
like I think that might have just been like a funny bit. But I'm wondering if like maybe the cards
I think
like
so too.
he could like maybe feel the ink on them. I don't know if that's like a thing. It's like
Yeah,
raised
it's
ink
entirely
on the
possible.
cards. I don't know.
Or I know like sometimes I I don't know. I feel like I remember hearing that sometimes people can like feel colors. Um
Hmm.
I don't know if that would help
Chips and
or if
colors.
that's I don't know.
And honestly, if anyone could feel colors, I would assume it's someone who is like highly trained in
Yeah.
every martial arts and is a member
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the high table. Like, yeah, I'd believe he could feel colors. Sure.
And then he also knew that he got 5 of a kind. So
I also just want to say that scene at the stairs with Kane, it was unintentionally funny when John Wick fell down all those flights of
Oh, I
stairs.
think it was
I mean,
intentionally funny.
okay, were they going for comedy there? Because I thought that was funny.
I feel like
That was
that
incredible.
was literally
One of the best stunts ever.
it was literally the bit from Hot Rod, but then they put it into
Yeah.
this, and I was like, incredible.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I thought on my second viewing, he didn't fall as long as I thought he did, which might have just been like since the shock was gone, but like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I did take note of this. There's a line when the person in the Eiffel Tower is like speaking on the radio. There are 222 steps that he fell down,
Oh my god.
which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Not including the like few times where he fell down like a little bit of stairs while fighting. So like he probably fell well over 300 stairs in that entire sequence.
Yeah, when I saw it the second time, I saw it with a buddy, and he was like, "There's definitely when he's like falling the first time, he's like, there's definitely a bit where he just like pushed off a little to fall down more stairs. Like, yeah, he's got momentum, but there's one bit where he's like, I'm pretty sure he could have stopped halfway, but he wanted to keep going. And I was like, hey, if he did, he's got a
Yep.
point. He knew what he was doing. I trust him.
Yeah.
He's John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bubba, yeah.
You believe that?
But going back to Donnie Yen real fast, it's technically not his intro scene, but I love his little intro scene in Osaka when he's just standing in the doorway eating the noodles,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's just
that
like his
was
little
great.
silhouette. He's like
Yeah,
finishing
eating.
his bowl, like slurping straight from the bowl and everything, and the guy's like, "Hey, do your job." And he's like,
Yeah.
all right, gotta
He's
get back
so
to
good in
work.
this
Yeah,
movie.
that was pretty great. I did love that scene.
When I saw that scene, I was like, Chet Stahelski definitely watches anime because that felt so like I was like I could picture this like an anime style. Like there's definitely a character out there who's like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
get to it. Like let me just finish my noodles first. It's so good. And also I did just want to say I saw a clip of Donnie Yen talking about working on set with Chad, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, so forgive the paraphrasal, I guess. I don't know. But he basically said like Chad is like the only person that can truly understand like what he's trying to express. He's like, even when I'm back home like in Asia, he's like, some of those directors that I work with don't fully get what I'm trying to like say, and he's like, somehow Chad just understands it and I understand him. And he talks about how it's like the best like collaborative connection and like environment that he's been on and like worked with. And I think that's insane. Like, what a compliment for someone like Donnie Yen to be like, yeah, Chad is the best person that I've worked with in terms of my fight choreography and how all of that works and flows and what I'm trying to express, when it's like he has, I think, 40 years of like these martial arts films like under his belt and all this other stuff, and like 4 Ip Man movies. Like no, yeah, this white guy named Chad,
He's the real
no one
Chad.
beats him. Incredible. Yeah, I just thought that was
pretty
great.
cool.
But all right, fellas, what was your favorite sequence in the movie?
It's got to be the top down. That was so cool.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, Chad watches anime and Chad has played Hotline Miami. Those are like my 2 takeaways.
My jaw was just open both times I saw it. Like I could not get over just like the amount of like planning into the geography of the sequence is insane. The fact that it's like a one take, the fact that they like stop it and you're like, wow, that was the best thing I've ever seen. And then 2 seconds later, they bring the camera up again and they do it for another 30 seconds. I was like, wow, it's so cool. And also the weapon that he has, the fire shotgun. Incredible. That's
Dragon's
just,
Breath, I mean.
yeah, the Dragon's Breath shotgun from Fortnite is so cool. I love that
I mean, John
sequence
Wick isn't Fortnite.
so much. He is in Fortnite.
This franchise is actually just based on the Fortnite character John Wick.
There you go.
They all drink their shields before going out into battle.
But no, yeah, that top-down scene was really cool.
Is that everyone's favorite sequence in the?
Well, I mean, another sequence that I personally liked was when he's in France and you got the radio host like kind of telling everyone that he's in France and he's trying to escape everyone in the
cool.
scene in the traffic and whatnot. Like that was really
The
cool.
Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
The arc, yeah. Also, if she told me to kill John Wick, I would believe that I
Yeah.
could kill John Wick. I was like, yeah, no, right now. You want me to go right now? I'll go. I'll go kill John Wick for you. And I guess the 20
Yeah.
million,
For you.
but for you, whatever you say.
You ain't get a kiss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you pay me in 20 million kisses instead. No, I was gonna say that that bird's eye view scene of that was definitely one of my favorites. But then yeah, my number 2 was at the Arc
Arc de
whatever
Triomphe.
it's called.
The Arc de Paris.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those.
Okay.
But I remember both times watching that, I was just blown away, like thinking about just the choreography and like how you plan something out that's so intricate and has so many moving pieces. Um, Obviously, it's incredible what we can do with like special effects and everything nowadays. I'm sure, like probably I don't know, 95% of those cars weren't there, but still, even without the inclusion of those cars, you have to factor in the cars that the guys drive. You have to factor in John Wick's car. You have to factor in the cars that hit the guys. Like there's all of that going on. There's so many moving parts. You have so many different people at one in one location. I mean, in all of the big set pieces, you do have lots of people to work with, and that's insanely complicated. And I applaud. Obviously, this is probably one of the best stunt teams in maybe cinema history, but definitely in America. Um, just being in control of all of these people and sort of choreographing in such a way where like nothing does feel out of place. Like nothing, like you feel like everyone is kind of in the same spot that they were. It all feels very cohesive. And yeah, just handling all these moving parts. I'm like, I don't even know how you would block that or write that down. Like I'd love to read the script and be like, maybe it's just one action line that's just like they get to the arc and it goes down. Like I don't
I had
know.
a very similar
Do you
thought.
write everything that goes
Like, there's
into
no.
that?
I don't know how you write that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've written a couple like fight scenes where it's like a little hand-to-hand combat and I'm like, do I write down every right hook, left hook? I'm like, this feels like too much. I feel like I'm writing a book. And then when you have something like John Wick that's so action heavy and it's not like you can show, I mean, I guarantee they could if they wanted to because everyone is so talented, but it's not like you could show up on set and like improvise and be like, oh, we got a fight scene. Like everything is so meticulous in these movies. And that's one thing that obviously I love about it so much, but it's like everything down to the, little minute details, like has to be exactly where it needs to be. And, yeah, in that arc scene and in the top down scene, it's like just blows my mind.
And to go back to the arc scene, like I just think about all like the drivers, like they just stop and like honk. It's like, does this happen often? Like nobody really seems to care.
So good. Do you guys want to hear some statistics?
Okay.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I decided to do some tally marks. John Wick, the amount of times he fell from 2 stories or higher is 4 times in this movie. And the amount of times he got hit by a car is 8. It is 9, though, if you count the time he was on top of a car and he crashed into a bus and then got thrown from the car into the bus.
Nice.
So, yeah,
That's a
9
lot of
car
damage.
crashes that the man went through.
My God.
Incredible. I do love Mike, I think it was your review for John Wick 3 on Letterboxd that was one of my favorites. It just made me think of it right there what we were talking about. Hold on, pause. I have to pull it up. I'm putting you on blast
Wow.
because it made me giggle. It yeah, it was for John Wick 4 actually. You said they didn't explain in the movie, but the bulletproof suits are also car, stair, and falling off building proof. The opening to your review was like really tickled me. I like that one.
Glad I could tickle you.
Another sequence that I really like. So the club sequences are like some of my favorites in the whole series. I love the club sequences. So like, of course, the club sequence here, great. Love it. Love the music in all of them as well. But the other sequence I really like is the Osaka sequence in this movie, particularly because Rina Sawayama was amazing as Akira. She was so good, and I loved all like the fighting with John, where he's like shooting these fully armored dudes, and he has to take one down like one by one. So he's doing all these rolls and all these flips, and then like just trying to like delay. So he's like taking down one and like delaying the others around him so that he can like get to them next. But like he's like, I gotta get this guy, and then I gotta get this guy. And like I love that.
It's like, let me kick this
Yeah,
guy in the balls so that I can
yeah.
kill this
And then
other
I'll get
guy.
to you, and then
Yeah.
another guy's gonna come around, and
And
then
then
I'm gonna
shoot
do the
him in
same
the
thing.
head.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I also love we talked about it earlier, but like one of my favorite moments in it is Akira stabbing the guy who's trying to crawl up the stairs. It's just so funny.
So good.
Mhm.
I love the build up to that
Yeah,
action scene because of the when the manager and his dog, like I forgot the manager's name, but when him and Akira are just walking through,
Koji.
yeah, when they're walking through the hotel, like it gives you the exact layout of how the action is gonna unfold. And like watching it through the second time, I was like, oh my god, this is like giving you like a little preview. Like you're like, oh my god, look at all those glass like containers that someone's gonna get thrown through. Or like, oh my god, this is like someone's definitely gonna duck behind that. And it's like I thought that was really interesting how they like give you like the game plan beforehand and just so many great action moments in Osaka. I did personally think it ran a touch too long. For me personally, I think the scene, like specifically in the glass container room, I think maybe a little bit could have been cut out there. But overall, it's a fantastic sequence.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is sort of boosted by, now we're getting a lot more depth to some of our minor characters. Like in Koji and Akira, I love their relationship. Um, I really enjoy the part in the beginning when you're like, oh, she's just the concierge and she's reading out the schedule and she's like, and then you have dinner with your daughter, and he's like, what did I do to get such a caring daughter? And she's like, good karma, I guess. And you're like, oh, they're buddy, just like Winston and Sharon.
Yeah.
And then you do get that reveal that it's like, oh, she was doing a
Yeah.
bit
I
talking
thought
in the
that was
third
a super
person.
cute
That's
moment.
actually his
Yeah.
daughter. And yeah, it was just very sweet. And then now you like immediately care about them
Mhm.
more. And then once she gets on the roof to sort of warn Koji, um, you can see that there's a lot more pain in her face, because it's like, okay, not only are you just like putting Continental in jeopardy, you're putting me, your daughter, in jeopardy for this guy. And she obviously does not like John. And so that is just like, it's just a much heavier like weight on her. And I think that also makes her a lot more compelling, and it makes her like more fun to watch. Because she's also obviously very well trained, very meticulous in like her kills. But I feel like, again, like when she's stabbing that guy crawling up, it's like you can tell she's just mad at the
Yeah.
situation. Like she's just upset that this is happening, and she's like getting to take it out on all these guys, which is nice. But yeah, I think Rina Sawayama was incredible, and I hope we do see more of her. I know there's the ballerina movie with Anna de Armas that is, I think,
Cancel
in
it.
production or was about to
Give
be in
us the
production.
Akira movie.
They can't. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is I'm like, listen, I love me some Anna de Armas, but I think we have a much better character right here, and I would like to see a lot more of her. Because then I also think we'd get to see more of Donnie Yen and his relationship, and I think that was a nice layer too, putting his daughter in jeopardy, like under the high table. Um, that made him more of an empathetic character as well. Uh, yeah, I would just love to see those dynamics like expanded upon more in another movie, and also just Rina
Mhm.
Sawayama. Just give me more of her, always, all the time,
Yeah.
forever. You know.
Well, I feel like so did everyone see the post-credit scene for the movie?
Yeah.
I have now.
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay. Well, like I thought, I was like, oh, that could be like a spin-off, or they have Akira hunting Donnie Yen down. And I know, like, we're in a world where we don't need more spin-offs, or whatever. But like, this is like one of the only spin-offs. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, this would be so fun. I would love this. Like Donnie Yen, Rina Sawayama, please, please.
Yeah, I'd be down for that as well. That'd be awesome.
But then, yeah, the
Mhm.
second time I watched the movie in theaters, I see the post-credit scene, and I'm like, well, I mean, like, you could technically still make a movie out of it and just be like, "Oh, no, she missed," and then, like, she got away or he got away or something, and then it's, like, the whole movie, but
Or that could be the
yeah,
end.
and so, like, I almost felt like, well, they
Mm.
kinda that's where I was like, "Oh, they might have just, like, closed that loop," and so they kind of just ruined the possibility of, like, getting that spin-off, which, like, fine,
Mm.
I guess, but, like, yeah, like, after this, I was like, "I just want more of Akira, and I want more of Mr. Nobody," like, I loved both of
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the tracker
Tracker.
too.
them.
Tracker.
Yes, Shamir Anderson was incredible. This is the first thing that I've
Same.
seen him in, and then actually the other day, I just watched Bruiser, which is a new film that dropped
Mm,
on Hulu. I highly recommend all you boys to go watch it. But Shamir Anderson is in that,
mm.
and he plays like a
Oh.
father who's bald and a little like heavier and wears like round glasses. And I was like, what? Like Shamir Anderson has incredible range just from those two roles that I've seen him in, and I remember after seeing John Wick 4, I was like, I want to see more of him, not just in this, not just in like a John Wick, something or other, if there is going to be more, but just I'd love to see him get more leading roles even because he was easily one of my favorite parts of this whole movie.
I feel like he could easily lead a movie. Like he had so much charisma and like so much intrigue. Like he was able
Mhm.
to pull you in every time he was speaking. You're like, ooh, I want to hear what this guy has to say. He
Yeah.
apparently is going to be in the Marvels coming out in November. So I'm intrigued to see what role he has in that. But I mean, I'm gonna watch it regardless. But I can't wait to see more of him. He is so good.
Yeah.
I thought he was so good in this movie. Like the performance was great, obviously, but to say something new and not redundant, I thought the concept of the character was super interesting. Just like how he's waiting for John Wick's bounty to be high enough for it to be worth it to kill him. I thought that was really interesting.
So
I
funny.
wish they had waited a little bit longer for him to like get involved with the marquee. Like, I don't know, maybe wait till the third act until he's able to like just kind of like get his money if he kills him. Just so like throughout the movie we could have like seen him like save John more and like John have to like kind of wrestle with like, okay, this dude's not gonna kill me now, but he's definitely gonna be a threat later. Do I want to kill him? Do I want to keep him around for now since he is helping me technically? So I think there's maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but the concept is super interesting and just his character in general as the movie goes on, even though he loses that bit of like um interest to me, the performance still like shines and it's great. Also,
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. I liked his dog. I also like how John Wick
Nuts.
saved his dog.
That was so good. Such an
Yeah.
unspoken moment
Yeah,
of like
no more dog.
character.
No more dogs
Yeah.
will
John
die.
Wick's
Yeah,
like, I know
like
how it
Yeah.
feels.
When his dog got
like
hit
such a
in the
great character moment.
Yeah.
when his dog got hit in the Arc de Triomphe scene, I was like, no.
Yeah. I
But then he got
know.
up, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
thank
it
God.
was
Okay.
I also really
Terrified.
love the part where the guy that was gonna shoot the dog, like he shows up somewhere else and the dog's right there and you just hear it growling. Like that was pretty great. Yeah. Yeah.
On the steps. Yeah.
It almost reminded me of like Jurassic Park. He's like, "Clever girl," and then it just like
Yeah.
kills him.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, very similar
It's so
moment.
funny because that dog, like when it's not like killing people, is the happiest looking dog I've ever seen.
I know,
Like I've
yeah.
never seen a bigger smile on a dog. It was so cute. And then it just is ripping balls.
And I do love yeah. I love that we have like so many of those moments, like in John Wick 3 when he can't make it to the Continental and he goes to the library and sends his dog to the Continental, and Sharon, like the door opens, it's the dog, and Sharon reaches his hand out and the dog gives a
Yeah.
little smile. You're like, oh hell yeah. And like in this one too, when he gets to the Continental, Akira's like, no dogs, and he's like, oh, emotional support, like that whole thing. And he looks at her and he's like, right? And the dog goes, and it smiles again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you love it. It's so good.
Some great dogs in this series. They hurt us hard in the first one, and they knew like from that moment on, it's like okay, we got to give him some goods. Besides the
Yeah.
bit
It's
in
funny,
3, but
right. And Shamir Anderson said that he's like, this is the most that he's ever worked with animals in his career, and he was like, I'm definitely getting a dog after we finish this
Nice.
movie.
That's awesome.
Like, love it.
Is he going to train him?
Love
Is he
it.
going to train the dog to also bite people's nuts? Because
You should. Any injury to the crotchal area and it's not happening to you, hilarious. Never gets old. That's why the Jackass movies rule. That's why it rules when John Wick does it. If it's a stab, if it's a punch, if it's a bullet, you're like, haha, sucks to be you.
real quick, I would like to bring up Clancy Brown as the Harbinger.
yeah,
Yeah.
Very minor role, but like one that you
Mr.
can like
Krabs.
completely understand like the whole character and like his whole motivation. Like because like Bill Skarsgård, like he's like I said earlier, I don't like him that much. And one of the reasons is that he like lives by these rules and consequences, but yet he's always bending them to his will. And I think that Clancy Brown's character just like hates that so much. Like I think it pisses him off. So like the scene at the end where like he like announces like John Wick, you are free. Winston, you get the Continental. Donnie, and you are free. Like, I think that was just a great moment where he was like, "We have rules. I live by these rules. This dude did not live by these rules. He probably wasn't gonna let you have any of this. But since you took him out of the picture for me, you guys have earned this." And I just really love that. I thought he was a super good character, despite the limited screen time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when he first showed up, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't the adjudicator from the last.
Mhm.
I don't know the difference between adjudicators and
They
harbingers.
both sound
I'm
cool.
sure there is one if I can read up. I know. I'm like, if I could read up on the lore, I'm sure there's a different reason. But I remember when we started, I was really because I loved Asia Kate Dillon is their name. I love them in John Wick 3. I thought they were so good,
Yep.
and I was like, man, where are they? Like, why is it Clancy Brown? But like you said, I feel like that. No, I love Clancy Brown. I'm never gonna complain. But I think it is that final scene after the duel. It's just his demeanor where you can tell that like he's just tired of like the marquee, and he's like, you didn't do this right, and so whatever. Like it's him being like clearly over time he's worked with the marquee, and even when they're in his stable or whatever with all the horses, he just has that just annoyed that he's like, you're just not doing it the way that it should be done, and that pisses him off. And I think Clancy Brown is able to maybe convey that a little better than maybe K. Dillon might have been able to, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure they would have cared
and
as
also,
much, to be honest.
who knows what the difference between? Yeah, they're a little more apathetic.
Yeah, they're just like, okay, this is how it is. I'll cut up Lawrence Fishburne's face 7 times or however many times it was. Yeah, both are great characters. I'm happy we got a different flavor of adjudicator, harbinger in this movie. So
Yeah, I gotta Google what both of those mean because I still have no idea.
Have they ever in the movies? They've never like fully broken down what the hierarchy of what
Oh,
the table is, right?
No, and I think there was a bit that I saw where Keanu was kind of talking about it and talking about the high table and sort of keeping them almost like a mystery or like he's like, I don't want to have a scene where you have all the bad guys sitting around a table going hoo 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 hoo, 'cause he's like that's really not what it's about, and it's more of I think that adds to the sort of mythology of this universe. Like, oh yeah, the high table is just there and the elders are there, but they can replace the elders. And like they will always have someone there. They're just this all-seeing, all-knowing entity that like you don't know who they are, what they look like. And that's where there was a lot of theories going around on like Reddit and stuff of people being like, is Winston part of the high table? Is he using John to, do so and so and so? And it's like, I don't know. You never know. I mean, I think Chad and Keanu kind of shut that theory down. They were like, no, he's not. But cool thought. And it's like I think that's part of it is it adds to the intrigue of like what is the hierarchy or who is the high table? Anybody could be, somebody who's up top in charge, and you want to know.
Right. Did you have any other notes you wanted to go through, Mike, from your little notepad?
I think I just have some final thoughts if we're ready to start wrapping things
Uh,
up.
yeah, if we are gonna wrap things up, I want to bring up one thing real quick. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
regarding the ending of the movie, what did you guys think about them? Obviously, the spoiler discussion. So, what did you guys think about them killing John Wick off? I was not expecting it, honestly. Like, that was kind of a shock for me.
Yeah, it was crazy how you just slipped on a banana peel and just boop, there it goes.
All of his coins shot out. It was crazy.
I know. You didn't have an extra life, unfortunately.
No, I was not expecting him to die at all.
Yeah,
Mainly
same.
because because I just like been watching these movies for the first time, obviously. Like two things went against me thinking he died in this movie. One, four is such a weird number for like a set of movies. Like it's normally three or five, so I was like, there's gonna be a five. And then two, on Letterboxd there actually is a John Wick 5 listed with Keanu Reeves starring, so I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
so this is just like the setup to the
Keeps
final one. So I was not expecting him to die at all. But I honestly like I don't know how he survives a John Wick like to get to a John Wick 5 or how you make that compelling, honestly. So I do think it was the right choice. It was an emotional hit. I just wish I had gone in not knowing what I thought I knew. Because at first I was
right.
like, oh, he's not really dead. He's just hiding. He's off screen somewhere. And I do think there is like a little bit of something to that where like he like kind of understand. They say it so many times. The only way he's going to be free is if he's dead. So if the high
Yeah.
table thinks he's dead, maybe he
Mm.
can get away with faking his death, even though he has his freedom. That's not something I really want to happen. I think we should let dead characters be dead. But
Yeah.
yeah, it did really hit. Once I got over my initial bias against the idea.
Yeah. I also feel like that was because I remember I think it was before the pandemic even they announced there's going to be a John Wick 4 and 5, and so I think that's what threw me off. And then I remember
Yeah.
there was an article before this came out that there was like, oh yeah, they ended up combining aspects of 4 and 5 to make 4 because of like it took so long to make and whatever. And they're like, we just want to make the best movie possible. So I was like, oh okay. But then like, oh yeah, we're definitely exploring still making a 5. I'm like, oh okay. So then that threw me off. I'm like, oh, he's not gonna die. And then he died. I was like, oh, okay. Well, uh, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, I know Chad and Keanu have talked about like the way that these movies release, they release usually like 3 months later in like Japan and those places. And so usually when they're doing their press tours, it's as after they like wrapped everything up here, they're, at a bar in Osaka, which is kind of why it was kind of a big place in here, and they both kind of talk and they're like, "Man, well, that was great. We did it. We're done, right?" And then you go, "Well, I do have a little idea," and they kind of talk about how there's like just little thoughts on a napkin, and they always talk about. I know Keanu says like, "I'll do it as long as as long as the fans want, as long as my legs will carry me," basically. Um, and I think it was before the third came out. They were like, "We have ideas for a fourth, but it all depends on how the third does." And so I think that might have been why the fifth is like on letterboxes because people are like, "Well, there probably will be because it'll probably be good," you know. And they've obviously talked about it, but like you said, um, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they've combined stuff that was going to be in the fifth one, and originally this film was 255 minutes long, which I need that cut. Give me the Chad cut,
The
please
Chad
God. That
cut.
needs to be on
The
the Blu-ray,
Chad.
or I'll the Chad cut. It was originally 225 minutes long, and Chad was like, "We need to cut this down," and I think it's like 167. I think is the runtime now.
Jeez.
Which that's a lot, but that's very. I think that would
Return of the
explain the
King.
sort of combination of the two. Yeah, but no, I really liked it. I think it's good. I think it's a good cap off. Um, I art. I was gonna compare it to something. Do you guys do you watch the Daniel Craig James Bonds?
Yeah.
Have you seen all
I have
those?
Seen a
seen
few,
the
not all
last
of them.
one. That was the only. In fact, the very
Quite the one to
the
start on.
yeah the last Daniel Craig
Yeah.
James Bond movie. It was the first James Bond movie I ever watched. So that was
That's
I know it was
wild.
quite the one to start with.
Um, but
I haven't
but I
seen
it
it, but
just
you can
the
definitely
end of
talk about how James Bond had time to die. It's okay.
yeah he did. Um, yeah, I think it just made me think of that because I feel like those. Sorry, Mike, spoilers, but I think those are both very good send offs for each character, and I think it like again, I just feel like it makes sense. And also, sorry to be the bookworm here, but I do have a quote from Chad,
Don't apologize.
talking about it.
Nerd,
Yeah,
nerd, nerd,
but
nerd.
this is kind of him going off of like talking, like just bouncing ideas off of like him and Keanu. And he says, "Yeah, so for this one, the idea was, oh, sorry." He's like, because we had to come up with a why, right? He's like, "What's the why? Why make it?" After chapter one, after John Wick, it was like, why? Well, he's on the run, but even before the run, maybe let's open up the world. And it was like the marker and all the friendships. And then four was like, why make this one? And it was like, okay, he has to die. That would seem like the only reason to make it. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible. He can't survive the high table. And he kind of goes on and on, but like it makes sense. And like what Mike was saying, like the only way that he's free is if he's gonna die. Because even Koji says in the beginning, he's like, you can't kill everybody. And I think that's
I'm
another,
going to kill them
sort of
all. I
so
love
good.
Keanu so much.
It's like I think he's the best. I think yeah, before we do final thoughts, let's say our favorite John Wick line reading from this one. I love when he goes, "I'm going to need a
That's so
gun."
good.
It's the best.
I think you can't go wrong with the starting line of yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tie between the first yeah or when he goes consequences.
Yeah.
It's a good one too.
Such
That's
a
good.
treasure.
But yeah, I just wanted to say.
Dan?
Go
But
ahead.
yeah.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite line reading,
Oh
Dan?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the yeah, but the consequences is pretty
Mhm.
good. But I was just gonna say that yeah, I was kind of taken aback by them killing him off because, like Mike and Udi were saying, I was under the impression that there was gonna be a John Wick 5 with Keanu Reeves in it. So when they killed him off, I was like, wait, what? Like, oh, I thought there was gonna be another one, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe he faked his own death, but
They lied to us, like a bunch of
they
liars.
lied. It's like a comic book. You kill a character off, but then they bring him back. So
I'd be happy
Kinda
to
hope
have
they
a little
don't.
like Dark Knight Rises scene where it's like you see him in a little cafe,
oh yeah,
have Donnie Yen see him across
Or
the
the next one
crowd.
is just
yeah.
John Wick 5, John Wick Chapter
What if?
5, What If? And it's he's a
Oh,
zombie.
there we
Oh,
go.
zombie
Zombie
John
Hey,
John Wick.
Wick.
I'm here for it.
Mix it up a
Hey.
little.
What if there's
I'd
another?
watch
What if
like
this
a
becomes
John
like
Wick sitcom where he's like
Sitcom
he's
with a
escaped
laugh
and
track
like
and
what does he
everything.
do now?
it's like his friend that he lives like in an apartment with is just trying to do
Yeah.
everything he can to not get him to kill people. It's like John, put the gun down, calm down.
This is the episode where he has to potty train his dog.
Oh my god. You got the laugh track and everything.
His dog that poops perfect CGI mounds.
So like he just like learns that like he actually doesn't know how to take care of a dog because he's never spent a day with the dog. So he
Oh
just
my
like
God.
learns
That's
like,
true.
oh no, I don't know how to take care of you, but we're gonna figure it out.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
5 seasons.
what if the series became like the God of War series and John goes to heaven, but he ends up killing like everyone there. He kills like all the saints and the angels and just kills God. He becomes God.
John Wick ascends to heaven to kill God.
They're pretty epic. Also, sorry, I mean, there's just I really think that it's impossible to sort of concisely talk about this movie because we were talking about like gods and stuff, and I started thinking about a lot of the imagery and like all the art, all the set pieces, all the intricate places that we're at, and we didn't even talk about him going to the Ruska Roma and Katya, who is one of I mean, Katya was
Yeah.
incredible.
It was really good.
I thought she was great, and
My
in
name's
that,
Klaus.
yeah, I just
My name is Klaus.
yes, exactly. It's like, how did we didn't even talk about him? There's so much in
There
this
is,
movie.
honestly.
It's
Yeah.
like, and it's all
I could keep
perfect.
talking
It's
about
all
it.
should be in there. It all deserves to be in
Yeah.
there. I know. I could talk about this for 3 more hours.
It's just so funny because it's like when you really think about it, there's not like that much substance here. It's literally just a guy on a revenge quest for like 4 movies, just killing people.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't
And
like
yet
there's not really a lot there, and yet they elevate
Exactly.
it. I mean, it is a lot of like
It's
technical stuff,
the
but like
world
yeah, the world
building.
building, just
Yeah.
all the production design, the
Mm.
choreography, set pieces, so much goodness.
I gotta give a shout out to how this movie is lit. It's so
Mm.
pretty. Like so many
Is
like
lit,
it's a
you're
lit
correct.
movie, but like the way the lighting is used in this movie, it's so pretty. Like
Mhm.
every scene, like even like scenes that like don't really like need great lighting, like every scene should like have care put into it, obviously, but like scenes where you wouldn't expect like to have like the most beautiful like lighting ever do. Like the scene on the train, especially like on the subway, like why is
Oh my
that lit
God,
so
yeah.
nice? Like
Most gorgeous
obviously
train
it's a
ever.
nice like it's the prettiest train ever. Like the night before I saw Scream 6 again, and obviously I love that movie, but like it's just like they're on a train and then it gets dark and then they're on a train, but like in this movie they're on a very similar train except it's gorgeous looking and
I think the main difference here is
Mhm.
one's an American train and one's a Japanese train.
that's
So
true. Yeah,
Yo.
gotta give it that.
One's covered in piss and blood and every other
God.
bodily fluid, and the other is
with neon
spotless.
lights.
Yeah, that's something to consider.
Yeah, which definitely. Yeah, America, listen
We
up.
Look
want
at what we
pretty
could have.
trains.
We just want more
That's
trains,
true.
man. Anyway, sorry, that's not what this podcast is
There's
about.
I don't know.
dude,
Having a bullet train in the U.S. would be pretty sweet.
oh my
No.
god, Bullet Train
Oh,
American
not the
remake.
movie. Okay.
Oh no.
No, stop it. Stop it. Stop right
American
now. Stop.
remake.
I guess shout out to Bullet Train. That one's also good.
I'll
That's
just
funny.
say my final thoughts real quick.
Yeah.
Never gonna watch Bullet Train. Uh,
Oh,
I'm gonna give my final thoughts. I think it's a great movie. The action is obviously incredible. Like I said, it's greatly lit, and every character I really enjoyed. Even Bill Skarsgård, even though I'm not the biggest fan of him, it's still like a 6 out of 10 performance. I can't like knock it that bad. Um, something I do want to say is that I would still like to see a John Wick 5. Obviously, not have John Wick in it, but like just maybe to tie up some of the loose ends. I was thinking about it. Maybe you could call it like John Wick Legacy or something like that. I just think it'd be interesting to kind of like tie up some loose ends with some of the characters, especially in this movie, because I think we got a lot of interesting new characters. Probably the
Yeah.
most interesting in the whole series, like since Willem Dafoe randomly appeared in the first one. Uh, but yeah, I
Yeah.
love this movie. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, and it is currently my favorite movie of the year. We'll see if that changes, but it's definitely gonna probably be in the top 5. We'll see what happens when Dead Reckoning comes out. That's all I'll say.
Definitely not getting replaced by Paint.
I know Paint is at the bottom. It's below Quantum Maniac.
Whoa.
I'm just
I did not like
saying, what
Paint.
if we could get, I don't know, what if we got Adam Driver? He's Keanu's long lost brother, and Adam Driver takes over.
Oh no! Don't turn this
Oh,
into the Fast
no.
and Furious.
What would you name Adam
Um,
Driver? What Wick? Like James Wick?
John Wick.
Jonathan Wink?
ooh.
Jonathan Wink.
Jonathan.
No,
Dong Wick?
Dong Wick. What about Lit Wick?
Kylo Wick.
Litwick?
Oh, wow.
That's a Pokemon.
It's a Pokemon.
Is it really?
Yeah. Little candle.
I want to say it's a
Adam Wick.
character.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam Wick. That works. I'll just say my final thoughts. I know we've all said this a gazillion times. I love this movie. I think it's incredible. The first time I saw it, I did give it 5 stars. The second time, I gave it 4.5. I think some of my problems, again, I don't know if we talked about it too much, but I feel like the pacing a little bit. Once you, I think this happens. It does happen with every John Wick movie, but I think I definitely felt it more with this one since this is the longest. There were a couple bits where it felt a little slow, but then again, immediately it picked back up. So it's not too bad. And then just some other little things, kind of how we were talking about like the Marquis character and just little things here and there. I'm like, I don't know. But still, I do think this is my favorite John Wick, and yeah, this is sitting pretty at number one for my 2023 releases thus far. One more thing, I really need to shout out Chad and the whole Team Stunt team. I know you guys are listening. But I just want to say, like, it's really incredible that there are like the gun safety on that set. So important, and I've said it a gazillion times, and he's actually he understands this, I think, more than most people. That like there is no need to have anything close to a live round on set, not even blanks. Like it just doesn't make sense. And you would like this quote actually because he says, "We can create cities and spaceships and Godzilla and all these things." He mentions
Yeah.
Godzilla, name drops him.
Yay!
But it's like,
That's actually a reference to
like
the
that's
Atomic
entirely
Lizard
true.
podcast.
He does
Oh my
listen.
He's a
God.
He's our
fan.
number one fan. But no, I think it's very important, and I do think in this day and age, like I think just safety is key, and he was actually the stunt double for Brandon Lee on The Crow,
Wow.
when that happened, and yeah, and I just think stuff like that, really important to talk about, and I really like that he's very outspoken about it and saying that like there is no reason to have that on set. He says that like have a live round on set is criminal. And yeah, I agree. I think that's ridiculous, but I applaud them not only for how incredible and breathtaking the choreography looks and feels, but also just the attention to detail and the safety on set. And again, the collaborative effort is incredible. 8711 seems like such an incredible team to work with, and every story that I've read or listened to about cast and crew alike has just been nothing but positive. I think, and that just also makes me like these movies more. Just knowing that everybody had fun and was safe, and it's a good time, and I just love that.
All right. So, my final thoughts is, yeah, man, this movie was great. Amazing action, and the choreography was amazing. Without a doubt, probably the best action film of the year. We'll have to see how Mission Impossible does, but I mean, definitely my pick for the top action movie of the year. The characters were great, memorable. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I'd give it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, and I'd heavily recommend you go see this while it's still out in theaters. It's great.
My final thoughts.
Yeah.
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 Those are my final thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like basically what everyone else, like the same reasons. Just I mean, like I said, I've enjoyed this series from the first movie that came out, and it's been a joy to see it progress as time has gone on. But yeah, just the fight choreography, the attention to detail, the production design, the lighting, the costume design, the performances, the music, just like everything is just so intricately well thought out and really appreciated. I'm really glad that the third one was not the final movie. I'll just say that. Like, I'm glad that they went out and did one more, and then went out on like the highest possible like bang they could have. Like, it was just so good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like my only problems with it really are, and I didn't really notice it as much until like my second viewing. Just kind of like how Luke said, like when it gets kind of like the slower moments, it does feel like it drags a lot more than like at least like after the first time. But I mean, it's not terrible, and like the rest of the movie is so fast paced. Like I feel like if you enjoy the movie, it's not going to be a big deal. So it wasn't a big deal. It's just like something I noticed was like, this is a little slower than I remember it being, but it's not bad. But yeah, really liked it. Favorite of the franchise. I'm excited to see the spin-off with Ana de Armas, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. So
I just want to say
yeah.
real quick, speaking of like side projects, aren't they doing a Continental TV show? I thought I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a limited series. I think it's three
Mhm.
episodes. It's
Trailer came out
insane
today.
that for some reason it's going to be on Peacock.
Peacock.
That did.
Peacock.
I don't.
Peacock.
Yeah, of all the fake streaming
Peacock.
services, of all the fake streaming services, Peacock got the Continental.
Yes.
I think it's a
Yeah.
prequel. Not entirely sure. I think it's a young
Mhm.
Oh,
Winston, right?
Hmm.
'Cause it's
I haven't watched the
interesting.
trailer
I
yet,
think
but I
that's what
did
it's called.
see some complaints on Twitter that it's not as you can tell it's not shot by the same team. So
Yeah, it doesn't look the same. I was scrolling past on Twitter and I watched some of it and I was like, I'll watch the rest later, and then I didn't because I was like, it looks all right. But it is very clear that um no,
I'll watch
it's all right.
it.
I mean, we're all still gonna watch it,
Yeah.
guaranteed. Especially because it's a limited series, which that makes me more
Once I
interested
find
in it.
someone's peacock to
Um,
steal.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have
Yeah.
Peacock, and I'm definitely not buying it for that.
Yeah.
hey, you just have to ask nicely if you want my
Is Peacock
Peacock.
the one with poker face?
Sorry, it's really late, guys.
Does Peacock have
Yeah,
poker face on it?
Oh yeah, the
that's
Ryan
Alright,
the
then
Johnson
difference.
show,
maybe
right?
I'll okay, yeah. Maybe I'll do a twofer in the fall. Or ask
Twofer.
or
Whatever
ask
you want.
nicely for Luke's peacock.
Or we could do a little hangout, and then we could watch it together.
Oh my god, we can share our peacock in person.
There you
Oh,
go.
Guys, it's
that's
11
always a fun
o'clock.
time.
Yeah.
Not that this matters.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot my final thoughts. John Wick 4 is my number 2 movie of the year. I didn't add that in. Everyone else like added it.
What's number
Infinity
one?
Pool still.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I love that. I love that for
Dan.
you so much. Brandon Cronenberg, I love him. The only Nepo baby that is allowed to exist, I
I
think.
think.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's been a weird year for movies for me where I don't know, like I've enjoyed things a lot, like John Wick 4 I really, really enjoyed, but I haven't loved anything like, oh yes, oh I can't stop thinking about it. Um
Yeah,
and
I
it's
agree
really
with that.
cool. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say I agree with that. Like nothing I've seen this year, I'd say even like maybe like John Wick 4 does, but I don't think anything that I've seen this year touches my top 10 from last year yet. So
Yeah.
we'll see how the year unfolds, but I agree with that sentiment.
Like at this point last year we had the Batman and it's like after that I was like, oh I can't stop thinking about it. I just want to keep watching
Batman
it.
and
But
Everything Everywhere, like
oh
already
my god,
was
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
That was like the best 1-2 punch to start the year.
hmm
But
But you know,
yeah.
there's still a lot to come out this year.
Dune Part 2.
Yeah, if you care
Looking
about
forward to.
that.
I'm looking
Wow.
forward to that.
Hater.
Dune.
Hater. We have
Yeah.
Oppenheimer. We have Barbie. Come on.
Oh God, yeah.
Barbie, strong contender for
I
number one. I'm
forgot about
Yo,
that.
Barbie shirt.
Luke.
My
Luke wearing
Barbie
the
shirt
Barbie
on. Do be wearing the
That
Barbie
Oh,
yeah,
shirt.
They
that
got
Barbie.
could be number one, and Oppenheimer could be number two. We'll see.
true. That's true.
Does this mean we'll have a double special edition 3 hour long pod where we talk about Oppenheimer and Barbie? Because I'd be down for that.
Maybe. Anything's possible.
We could do that.
The fans are gonna want to listen. The fans are gonna want to listen to all of us talk for 6 hours about these
Atomic
two
think it-
Lizard's
movies.
double future,
Guaranteed.
Oppenheimer and Barbie.
I think what we could do is we could do an Oppenheimer episode and then we could do a Barbie episode and then we could do compare and contrast double
Oh my
feature
God.
episode where we talk about what the double
So it's still
feature
6 hours.
it's 6
Oh
hours
my
of
God.
content, but it's split up into pieces, so everyone's
I'm-
not
Yeah,
subject to 6 hours of
I'm
listening.
down to come back anytime to talk about any movie ever. Definitely Barbie. I need to be there for Barbie.
All right, I'm writing you down, Luke. Barbie.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do want to say thank you so much for asking me to come talk about John Wick. I had a lot of fun
course.
talking with you guys.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was
It was a
a
blast.
it
Guys,
was
you
a
guys
I'll
want
pleasure
start
to
my
have.
own podcast.
Yeah, me too. We're gonna start. We're each gonna start our own podcast. There'll be 3 new podcasts for you guys to listen to.
Spin-offs.
You'll have the Atomic Lizard. You'll have mine. You'll have Mike's. Yeah, we have our own podcast.
Oh, there we
Yeah.
go. We already have our
Oh.
first crossover.
Except we
The
started with the
PCU.
crossover.
Yeah, but nah, it was a pleasure to have you guys on.
Yes, thank you for coming on, fellas.
Appreciate that.
Well,
It was a
we're
lot of
more
fun.
than happy to have
I
you
think
any
I
other
might take
time.
more notes when I watch movies.
If-
Follow
if-
me on Letterbox. Let me pull that up.
What's your at? What's your at?
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Follow
trying
me
to figure
first.
what is
I
my
go
ad?
mine by
Where do you
heart.
find that?
Go to your profile.
Yeah, it says my name.
Yeah, that's what. Oh wait,
My letterboxed. My letterboxed is Luke Wyso. That's just LukeWyso. You follow me there. My Twitter's the same. I don't do too much tweeting. I do a whole lot of retweeting. So you could get a hold of that. But yeah, my letterboxed. I have a little personal movie goal, so I'm at 177 movies this year.
Wow, man.
Doing my best to write reviews. Yeah, thank you. I'm doing my best to write reviews for all of them. Sometimes I have a little creative block and I don't add reviews until a few days later. Be like that. But yeah, I try to write reviews for everything. So far, I've been watching mostly decent stuff for the Leprechaun movies. Anyways,
by
Okay,
the
I
way,
found
your
my
at is
username.
literally just your name.
No, it's not. I'm signed in as Mycola2567, so you can follow me there. My letterbox goal is to just watch a bunch of good movies. I'm trying to watch every movie that I own because there are too many that I own and just haven't watched. So that's my goal right now. John
Going
Wick
through the
4.
backlog.
I need to
John
do
Wick
that.
4, the second time, was actually the 100th movie I watched this year, so
Oh
we're
wow.
chugging along great. And also, I bought the I became a patron on Letterboxd so I could change posters. So that shows my dedication to the craft of filmmaking.
Love
So
changing
funny.
posters.
I love my cocaine bear poster.
The Morbius poster.
The Morbus poster is the best thing.
Morbus.
Morbius.
Well, any last remaining additional thoughts you want to add in before we finally say
One
goodbye?
final John Wick thought that I just saw in my notes. One little tiny minor complaint. By the end, during the duel, his face is way too clean. Like, he should have had some scratches, some scuffs, something, a little bit of blood on the cheek. I don't know. His face was like perfect. And that's my only little tiny little minor complaint.
That's because his face is perfect. So
It'd be even more perfect if it was scuffed up though and battle damaged. Okay, that's all I got. Sorry for adding an extra minute to the podcast.
what's another minute?
Yeah.
It's fine. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us on this bonus episode of the Atomic Lizards podcast.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye, guys.